If you have a laptop that's between 1 and 3 years old and it's just not running as fast as it used to when you first got it, well, it might not be planned obsolescence. It could be something as simple as science. The results after changing this are ridiculous, and you're going to want to see how easy this process is to do. Well, let me show you how one device was being affected, the before and after, and the entire procedure of repasting a CPU on a laptop with some brand new thermal compound. Come on. Let me show you how. Poor laptop was running hotter than my wife when she watches me do projects around the house. 162 degrees at idle and quickly thermal throttles. So if your laptop's not running quite like it used to, this video is for you. Download and run a program called Hardware Info 64. It's fantastic, it's free, and it gives you a lot of information, but the best thing is this sensors button, which will tell you exactly what's going on with your laptop. And an easy way to tell is if you scroll through the numbers and you see red, yeah, here's what you gotta do. For my followers not in the US, we're talking about a steaming 100 degrees Celsius.
Now you're going to need some tools for this project, so swipe right on my profile, and if you've got access to the TikTok shop, I've got everything you need right here, including Arctic MX4 thermal paste, Thermaltake TG30 premium thermal paste, Be Quiet Thermal Grace DC2 Pro, along with the all-inclusive Kaizi 136 toolbox. For this one, I'm going to use this kit for $6. But always remember your duster. Cleanliness is the most important thing. If you like electronic, this kit is pretty cool as well. Check them all out. I've also got some extra things, including some thermal pads right here in the TikTok shop. Trust me, you don't have to shop elsewhere. Everything's pretty much here. All right, now back to the repair. Take off all the screws, doesn't matter the order, and use a separator or guitar pick to pop the edges of the cover open. This is the inside of your laptop. Hi, welcome. First thing you're going to find is the connector for the battery. You do not want to work on live electronics because it is too easy to short things out. So let's separate that. And now this is the thermal cover inside. We're going to want to try and pop this open, but it seems that there's a camera and a display cable in the way here. So I'm going to take those off carefully. That way I don't bend any connectors. And now we can see inside. I'm going to use a CRVY 2.0 bit for this job to be able to take off the 4 screws from the thermal heatsink. I need to look under this cover and get that contact for this CPU cooler fan out. And the reason for this is because this CPU fan is actually holding down part of the heatsink pipe. There we go. Plus, you want to inspect the inside, the fins, see if they need cleaning, see if there's any dirty nastiness blocking the vents. And now let's look at our cooler. And yeah, this thermal paste has completely scientifically cured to its maximum crustiness. This is not good. And this is why it's not cooling properly. Look at what's on the chips. So let's get that cleaned off. You can use a thermal compound cleaner, but the important part is to get everything off, both the heatsink and also the CPU. Be very careful. Don't use any solvents or try not to as much as possible. However, alcohol is recommended. Now, let's move on to the thermal paste. I'm going to use DM9. This is a deep cool product, which is unfortunately no longer available here in the United States, but was amazing. If you can get a kit that comes with grease cleaner, the spatula, and the paste, a good amount of paste, then buy that. That's your best bet, and you can use it for multiple projects. So let's use a grease thermal compound remover.
Now, in case you didn't know, this is actually what a delidded CPU looks like. A lot of laptops come with delidded CPUs. That way, the actual processor itself can make direct contact with their cooling solution in a much smaller profile. So now we'll just give this time to dry. And now it is time for our DM9 Master 5-star 1.5 grams thermal paste from Deepcool. We're going to take this off, and we've got the tip ready to apply. Where we're actually going to apply this is not on the processor, not on here, but actually on the CPU cooler itself, because this will make a flat cover across the entire processor on the areas that are necessary. So let's apply thermal paste here on the cooler. That might be too much.
Now, because this has that black outline, what I'm going to do is fill in the crevice of copper with the thermal compound as flat as possible, and afterwards take off the excess from the edges on that black overlap. This ensures that only the area that makes contact with the processor CPU die itself is covered in thermal grease and I don't have any excess, because when you press down on this, there is going to be a little bit of overflow and you don't want it to be too much. See, that's how much was left over.
Now with the cooling mechanism covered in thermal paste, we're going to wipe off the excess here from the edges because this is unnecessary. And we've got just a little bit more right here. Let's go ahead and get that wiped off. There we go. Now with this firmly in place, we can go ahead and put that down over our CPU. And now let's go ahead and put the screws back on.
When you screw this in, you want to do it incrementally in a star pattern, meaning you're going to start on one side, then go to the completely opposite side and then screw that. So from here forward, go ahead and just start putting things back together, reconnecting all the connectors, such as this DisplayPort cable that's on here. I'm also connecting the camera cable, putting the CPU fan back in, all the screws that are attached to it, and voila, we're done, except for this little guy. With the job complete, let's plug the battery back in, and let's put the cover back on, put all the screws back in, also in a star pattern for even distribution.
Now with these changes, not only can we now attain the turbo boost clock speed of the actual processor because we're not being thermal throttled, as you can see here, but our maximum temperature is lower, and that means all of our speed of our laptop is actually back. Now, aside from lower system temperatures and better performance, look at the maximum clock speed that we were now able to attain on this laptop due to the temperatures actually allowing the processor to go at its highest possible speed. 4.6 gigahertz. And our peak temperature stayed at 194 degrees. Isn't that awesome? Do you remember the maximum processor speed and also temperature that we got before the thermal paste change? 4.6 gigahertz, 194 degrees Fahrenheit, and look at the before down here. Those were our maxes. That is a ridiculous difference with just repasting your device. Now, the reason this happens is that thermal paste cures over time. It hardens. So every year to 3 years, depending on your usage and heat and patterns, you need to change the thermal paste on your laptop, on your desktop, on your graphics card in order to keep the temperatures within normal ranges. That's thermal conductivity happening right here, and that's why replacing and refreshing your thermal paste is so important. The more you know. Follow right here for more. Give me a comment if you appreciate this video. Now, if you've never done this before and you don't feel comfortable after watching this procedure, your best bet might be to take it to a computer repair shop, not Best Buy, that can do this procedure for you. You see, thermal compound or thermal grease actually has a cure time of between 1 and 3 years, which means by then or within that range, that thermal paste is going to start breaking down and harden, which means it'll lose its conductivity, which means it's not going to be able to pass that thermal conductivity properly the way it used to when it was brand new, nice and soft and gooey. Now, this is something you want to do on your laptop to be able to revive this. Get yourself a great tube of thermal paste that has an applicator spatula and some thermal cleaner. This is Deepcool's DM9, but this is no longer available in the United States. However, there are a lot of comparable products. Just get the high-grade stuff.